Protesters, described as peaceful, have blocked all northbound lanes of the Dan Ryan Expressway in Chicago in what they call their fight to end violence. Protesters want to put pressure on public officials and address gun violence in some of Chicago's poorest neighborhoods. Police say in the first 6 months of this year, the city saw more than 250 homicides, 1,000 shootings, and 60 children struck by gunfire. Illinois State Police originally planned to arrest pedestrians that entered the expressway, but they reached an agreement with the man leading the protest, who is a Roman Catholic priest and also an anti-violence activist.
Father Pfleger is demanding to be let into the moving traffic to fulfill his mission here in shutting down the expressway completely. Now it's just...
And I think when they put out that statement, they amped it up. And when they tried to hold us down, this march could have been over with an hour ago. But they decided they were going to have that obstruction and threaten us with arrest. The superintendent stepped up. We made it clear we're not going anywhere. So you ought to either bring out your buses to arrest us or move out of the way.
And we was ready to go to jail.
You negotiated for over a half hour. What was the final call? Who made that call?
I think the superintendent stepped up majorly. And I think what he told the state and told the governor's office, look all the crowd out here. Look who's out here today. Do you really want to have this turn into an ugly thing, a scene, which it was about to do? Our young people and the folks around here today, we didn't come out here to get punked by the governor. Amen. We came out here to let him know violence in this city is over. Give us the reason. Now comes step two. This was to get their attention. We got their attention. Step two is now meet with our young people and tell us how you're going to answer those resources for jobs, for affordable housing, for good schools, help those coming out back from incarceration. Tell us how you're going to help us, or there'll be a next direct action that'll be more major.
And last thing is, what just happened here?
What just happened is the people in Chicago just won today. Black, white, and brown people came together, shut down a major artery, and as Dr. King said, sometimes you got to tell your patients to sit down, because there is no patience for freedom and justice. We told them today we refuse to sit down. Freedom and justice is on the move, and we're not going to stop.
A lot of y'all been asking me what I think of the recent anti-violence protests in Chicago. And while I'm glad there was no injuries or arrests, I still feel the same way about protests in general as I did 3 years ago.
It really doesn't matter if you're demonstrating a peaceful protest or if you're out here rioting and looting in the streets. If you're gonna protest in large numbers in the public, the police have to be there. For those of y'all who just really want to hate the police right now, the more you protest against the police, the more demand you create for the police that you're protesting against. You're basically creating more of what you don't want. And guess who's paying the bill for it? You! Me and you, the taxpayers. Yeah. I was trying to explain this to somebody, and the first response is, I don't give a fuck about no taxes. Motherfuckers out here dying. Which is true, but when you die, you don't have to keep paying taxes as far as we know. But you and I, we're still here. So we still have to deal with the police. We still have to deal with these fucking idiots. And we get to pay for all of this shit. The more you make a scene and the more you show out in public and randomly fuck with people, the more leverage you give every level of government to say, you know what? These motherfuckers tripping. We need to turn it up a notch. This is moving us further into the militarization of the police state. And it's also the reason we see less boys in blue and more men in black and brown and army fatigue. And when these guys show up, it's definitely not to keep the peace. No, I'm not finna be out here holding signs, blocking traffic, fucking with people. I'm not finna be coming to these same community meetings, having the same fucking discussion with the same fucking results every time some shit go down. I'm not finna be coming to your church every Sunday. I'm not finna be prejudiced towards everybody that's not black. And I'm not finna act like white cops kill black kids more than black kids kill black kids. More than black kids kill black kids. More than black kids kill black kids. And I'm not finna act like white cops kill black kids more than black kids kill black kids. Kill black kids. Kill black kids.
Lord! Lord! The fuck? Lord, good Lord.
No! Stay! No! Stop breathing!
Man.
According to the organizers, the protest held on July 7th, 2018 on the Dan Ryan Expressway in Chicago was a quote-unquote anti-violence demonstration. And while the primary focus wasn't centered around racism or police brutality this time, the religious and political handlers, social justice warriors, and the genuine victims of gun violence all failed to identify, address, and confront the very criminal elements that continue to plague their communities. Instead, they directed their outrage towards Rahm Emanuel, Mayor of Chicago, Bruce Rauner, Governor of Illinois, and all current and soon-to-be elected officials, demanding sit-down meetings with the mayor and the governor directly, as well as more resources via publicly funded programs and more gun control, despite the fact that the state of Illinois already has some of the most restrictive gun laws in the United States.
You can't keep questioning how Chicago has restrictive gun laws with the most gun violence when I can take a 30-minute drive to Indiana and purchase a gun with no questions asked. You can't keep saying it's just gang violence because at the end of the day, it's still gun violence.
We will be shutting down the Dan Ryan Expressway so our elected officials and officials to be will hear our voices. Because we have the solution to these problems, but we need them to be implemented. We are not just protesting without a plan. We have a group of different youth leaders who want to have a meeting with Governor Bruce Rauner, Mayor Rahm Emanuel, and all the candidates running in the upcoming election. Trust me when I say this upcoming election, we're not just voting for someone because they're a Democrat or because they're a Republican, but we're voting for the issues that actually affect us. Because until our voices are heard, we will continue to disrupt life as usual. And if the state police want to prohibit us from getting on the expressway, the state police need to prohibit inequality in our city.
Violence is guns, it's lack of jobs, it's the lack of good schools, it's the lack of resources, economic development, and mental health. It's all of this.
My son and only child was murdered, shot and killed. It's too much. It has been too much. We need you to demonstrate some of that kind of commitment to addressing the issues of jobs, education, and resources on the south and west side.
See, here's the thing about protests. They always start with the genuine outrage from genuine victims of an injustice, or sometimes the whole scenario can be orchestrated. But either way, somewhere down the line, these movements always get hijacked and led down a different path. And in the case of all the shootings and murders in Chicago, it can get real messy for anyone that tries to speak out about it, because on one hand, you're dealing with real victims. These are real families that's mourning the death of real loved ones, you feel me? But on the other hand, you've got this influx of so-called community organizers, religious leaders, and elected officials that have absolutely no problem utilizing the real pain and the real struggles of the people of Chicago to push their own political agendas. You know, I think a well-known politician once said something along the lines of,
"You never want a serious crisis to go to waste." And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
Oh yeah, that was our mayor, wasn't it?
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
Come on, fam. This is Chicago, Illinois. We already know what it is. To some of us, this is real life. To everybody else, it's just politics as usual.
Demonstrators in Chicago have shut down part of a major expressway. They're demanding a solution to the city's decades-old problems of gun violence. It is being called a peace rally. It's a march being led by Washington President Chicago. Promising to shut down all the traffic on the Dan Ryan.
Shut down means
in response to this, Illinois State Police said the protesters wouldn't be allowed on the expressway. As expected, thousands of protesters
Why make stricter gun laws when they can just go get a gun off the street, a bunch of guns off the street? Like, people protesting for that is just clamping down on their constitutional rights. We're going to read about it, and you're going to see a couple of key players like Jesse Jackson in this, and once you see them, that's COINTELPRO all the way. I mean, it's a government operation. As soon as you see Jesse Jackson in the mix, it's a government operation.
Here's my take on it. Father Pfleger, while I was living in Chicago, I had lots of respect for you, but what you're doing is pretty idiotic. I got nothing against protesting. We live in the United States of America, and we have the right to free speech. But protesting on a public highway is stupid and literally it's against the law, especially when millions of people go through the highway every single day.
With the chief of police there for Chicago PD to let them block the whole freeway. They want to ruin everybody's commute. And so this is the stupidest thing of the left, of trying to protest and cause problems and make it an inconvenience for the average person who is apolitical. Like, I would say about maybe 95, 96% of the population, they're not really political. They're only political every 4 years when you vote. Typically, though, they're a normie. They want to go to work. They want to go watch a football game. They don't want to be involved with this. So if they actually succeeded in blocking the freeway, it would actually hurt their cause and probably piss more people off who have to go to their commute. So I kind of wish they did so.
Among the protesters today, students from Parkland, Florida. They are survivors of the school shooting where 17 people died in February. Today, they offered encouragement to the Chicago demonstrators.
They have been fighting this fight so much longer than we have. And it's their turn, and it's their turn, and it's their turn. Finally, we have this platform, and we need to pass the mic to them because their voices need to be heard, and they haven't been in the past.
Contrary to the nationwide support narrative that the mainstream media is pushing, you got a lot of people from all walks of life, from Chicago as well as people who have left Chicago, that are speaking up and calling this publicity stunt out for what it really is. Don't get it twisted, y'all. This is not about stopping the violence in the streets of Chicago. If that was something black religious groups or the state of Illinois really wanted to do, they would have cleaned these streets up generations ago. The actual victims of gun violence may really want that, but this is clearly another instance of the black community being used as pawns by the left, as always, to further their advancements and their political agendas, to bring forth this so-called common sense gun control, which is really just a code word for taking away the Second Amendment rights of all Americans, including law-abiding black citizens.
This is to the point where now there got to be extreme action. Extreme action. We're not talking about the gangs being killed.
What do you think? I understand that, but I also believe that extreme actions come with extreme reactions.
Exactly. And well, that's the chance we got to take right now. Too many of our innocent kids are being killed. Ain't nothing being done about it. Too many innocent kids. Sometimes activity with just gangbangers. Innocent kids are being killed, bro. Ladies is being carjacked. That wasn't going on in the 80s and 70s. We didn't have our sisters and mothers being carjacked. Nobody's doing nothing about it. Listen to me.
What would you say the end result of it should be?
As far as what?
Like tonight, because I know they got demands, but I didn't hear them.
Well, I think there's no end result. But one of the results got to be is the politicians have to start caring about our people. They got to start caring about our communities. And I don't mean black people. I mean people of Chicago.
Yeah.
The people of Chicago.
I'm with you on that. We should be standing in front of their door. And we paying them to do this protest right now. They making overtime for this. This is taxpayer dollars. So I don't disagree with you. I just see some things that I don't necessarily understand.
But guess what? You're not going to understand everything. You're not going to agree with everything. But long as you know that we're doing it for the better cause. We're doing it for the better cause. You know what I mean?
It's going to get attention. If that's the objective, it's going to get attention. But how people respond to it, that's up to chance.
Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate and give the people who attended the protest their credit where credit is due. I've been to a lot of similar events, and I really can't say that out of all the marches and the protests that I've been to, this actually was the most peaceful protest that I've ever attended, especially in Chicago. But at the end of the day, out of all the people I talked to out there, nobody could really tell me what was accomplished that day, besides shutting down the busiest expressway in Chicago and jumping up and down on national television like that's helping. But out of all of the victimhood narratives and the excuses for violence I heard, and even out of everything that unfolded that day, it was only one moment that blew my mind more than anything else, G.
Threatened us with arrest. The superintendent stepped up. We made it clear we're not going anywhere. So you want to either bring out your buses to arrest us or move out of the way.
And we was ready to go to jail.
Nigga, what?
Either bring out your buses to arrest us or move out of the way.
And we was ready to go to jail.
Hey, stop the show. Nigga, you ready to go to jail. Fuck y'all talking about. You got me fucked up. Hey, on some real shit though. I'm joking and laughing about it now, but I heard that multiple times throughout the day. You had a lot of brothers out there that was saying, take me to jail. I want you to lock me up. I'm ready to go to jail. And the more I heard that shit, the more I was like, these motherfuckers are serious. Now, thinking in hindsight, I realized that they may have been saying that in response to an official letter that was released earlier that week by the Illinois State Police.
The state police will now put out a statement this morning saying they will arrest every single person that steps on the damn right.
Okay, we want the state police and everybody trying to stop us to understand. We deal with inequalities every day in our city. So I need everybody behind me.
I want to say this to all of the black male protesters out there, especially the young brothers. I understand that you got your social and political issues that you're very passionate about, and I could definitely relate to that because so do I and many other brothers. But listen, bro, don't let other people get y'all all hyped up and send y'all out here on a mission that ain't your own. And definitely don't be hoping to go to jail. Like, who the fuck does that? As a black man in America, especially a young black man in America, you will be the first motherfucker to lose your freedom or your life over some goofy shit. And if the brothers out there was really willing to lose their freedom or their life for dancing on the expressway with Jesse Jackson and Father Flager, let me ask you this. Would you be willing to risk your freedom to clean up your own neighborhood? Would you be willing to risk your life and your family's life to turn in the killers that you know? Well, let me ask you this. Would you be willing to go to jail to discipline your own child? Because society says you don't have the right to dictate how you can discipline your own child. Or your baby mama, or your girl. I'm not suggesting that you do that, but you know very well that they can do whatever they want to you and ain't shit gonna happen to them. Or here's an even better question. Would you be willing to risk stepping out of your comfort zone, seeing new places, meeting new people, learning new skills? Or what about looking out for your own self-interest? Would you risk all of your social status and social approval to take care of yourself? Because ain't nobody gonna care about you like you gonna care about you? Or would you be willing to risk finding something to be happy about as opposed to always finding something to be offended or outraged about? I'm just giving y'all something to think about, you know what I'm saying? Man, y'all know it's people at these protests that could talk to y'all for hours about African history and knowing yourself and complaining about white supremacy and how corrupt America is. And for the most part, these are smart brothers. You know, some of them motherfuckers dumb as hell, but a lot of times they be smart. But more often than not, they can never talk to you about other things that's going on in the world right now. They can't really talk to you about places they've been and people they've inspired in life. They don't talk about how even if you're in a trap, you're not really trapped until you buy into some bullshit or put yourself in a situation where you end up with an ex on your back or a baby mama on your heels. They tell you you're a king, but then they tell you you're oppressed. They always talk about racism, but they don't tell you that that doesn't have to be a determining factor in your ability to succeed. It ain't easy out here, but we got it a lot better than we might think. Just don't fuck up your own life before you even get a chance to live it. That's all I'm saying.
It seems like every time I turn around, I feel I lose another one of my friends. Till I'm on my own in the world alone, holding on to the time we spent. I'm like, ain't this a bitch? I'm out with my peers, tripping and sipping on beers, talking about when we was kids. All of a sudden, I'm up at the funeral, wondering how the fuck did I get here? That type of shit that'll make you wanna get revenge, make some niggas disappear. Pull out the banger and release the anger on whatever stranger try to come and deal. Nah, I'm just trying to get back, but I keep reminiscing on the past, thinking about all of my niggas that died over some shit that they should've surpassed. Make it so bad, shit be happening so fast, I could barely get the chance just to say bye, or better yet to say hi. Guess it wasn't in the plans. Look in the land, niggas is caught in the trance, they don't even understand. All of this killing each other, they got out of hand. How can we ever advance? I say niggas is caught in the trance that they don't even understand. All of this killing each other, they got out of hand. How can we ever advance?
As they rode together in a friend's car Monday afternoon on the southeast side near